Welcome to Impact Makers Radio, featuring industry thought leaders sharing problem-solving insights to help grow your business and live the life you love. And here's your host, Stuart Andrew Alexander.
Hi and welcome to another Let's Talk Divorce conversation. And on this segment of the show, ladies and gentlemen, I have divorce and family law attorney Morgan Stogsdill. Now, Morgan is a partner at Beermann LLP, and she's calling in all the way from Chicago, Illinois. Now, Morgan has a wealth of experience in the area of family law, and we'll be talking to you today about the importance of putting children first in a divorce and how to make sure they come out of a divorce as healthy as possible. So if you are a divorcing couple, this might be the time for you to quickly grab a notepad and pen, switch off any other kinds of distractions, switch off Facebook, Twitter, and so on. And for the next 15 to 20 minutes, just to sit back and listen in to what Morgan has to share with you today. So with that said, let's not keep her waiting any longer. Welcome to the show, Morgan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. So, Morgan, if you could, in your own words, can you briefly describe the kinds of people you serve and the various types of situations they find themselves in when they come to you for help?
Absolutely. So day to day, I handle divorce and child custody cases as well as prenuptial agreements. My focus is generally on high wealth cases and contentious cases that deal with children-related issues. And I really work hard to navigate the people and the parties and also the children through tough times to make sure that the children come out ahead of where they may had they not had an attorney like myself.
Okay, so keeping that in mind then, Morgan, and anything that you share with us today is not legal advice or legal assistance. Can you briefly share one of the most common misconceptions surrounding the topic of putting children first in divorce? Now, I'm sure there are many misconceptions that you've come across in your years of being a family law attorney, but if you could just share the most common misconception, that would be really useful for our listeners, please.
The common misconception in a divorce case where children are involved is that children are resilient and they'll bounce back from any divorce process and anything that they've been through in that process. The fact of the matter is that research has shown the opposite, and that children are being much more affected in a divorce process than ever thought so before.
Based on what you just shared with us then, Morgan, and keeping client confidentiality in mind, of course, please share an example of how you've helped someone, maybe a divorcing couple who came to you with those challenges or that misconception you just described, and what kind of transformational results you were able to gain for them.
Absolutely. The first thing that I like to do when it potentially could be a case that the children may have negative effects would be to get the children into some form of therapy. I also move forward quickly to try to get the parties, or either individually or together, into some form of therapy. And my next step is always to try to see what I can do outside of court, because I've found that doing anything in the court, litigation-wise, and going through the court process really amps up the negative effects that the children feel, see, and hear.
So, Morgan, what I'm picking up on here, as we both know, the whole process of divorce can be very stressful for both parties, the husband and the wife. And no matter what has happened in between that couple and the amount of emotions that are involved, the negative energy that's involved around, quite often, which is involved around a divorce, that the children at the end of the day are the ones that suffer the most. Is that, am I on the right lines there?
Yes, you're absolutely accurate with that.
With that said, then, today's topic, as a reminder, is putting children first in divorce and how to make sure that they come out of a divorce as healthy as possible. For those divorcing couples who are out there and wanting to know more, what's the most common but unknown pitfall that you'd like them to be aware of, Morgan?
I think that an important thing for any parent who's divorcing to be aware of is that every child is affected by the divorce, and it's just by varying degrees. There's a lot of research out there that parents should pay attention to based upon the child's age, how they will be affected, and how they process items related to the divorce. That's a very important factor to know before you go into the divorce is look at your child, figure out what the age range is, and how they're going to process what they're seeing and hearing.
So, Morgan, how long have you been a divorce and family law attorney?
I've been an attorney for 10 years. Prior to being a divorce lawyer, I did jury trial work, so I had a lot of litigation experience. And I've been focusing on family law for about 8 years, only family law.
When your alarm clock goes off in the morning, it's 5, 6 a.m., whatever the time may be in your world, and you have a full day ahead of cases, how do you feel in the morning? Is this something that you're still passionate about? Is this something that you still love?
I still love getting to know every client and their family, and I feel a great satisfaction when I can keep the case in a low-key manner rather than litigating every step of the way, because ultimately what I do as an attorney is check in with my client daily, sometimes weekly, just to ask how is the family dynamic going, how are the children affected, and what's happening at home. That's important to me in every case.
Okay, so with that said then, Morgan, could you briefly just tell us a little bit about yourself, and especially in terms of your background and your education and your experience as it relates to the topic of family law?
My background has always been primarily in litigation. After law school, I came out and I did jury trial work in insurance defense, where I got more jury trial and litigation experience than most attorneys will ever see in their entire career. After a few years, I realized that family law was a better fit for me, and I took my litigation experience to family law. It's important to note that the beginning part of my career, I did litigate primarily in family law, and I litigated often. But the negative effects that I started to see on the children from that litigation were severe and substantial. And that is why it's my opinion that if we can keep the case out of litigation and out of the court process and do something else with the case, maybe it's mediation or collaboration, or do something without the court process, it's the best way to go for the children. And that's what I've been advocating lately.
So I'd like you to just picture the kind of divorcing couples who come to you for help then, Morgan, and they're wanting to dig a little bit deeper into the topic of putting their children first throughout the divorce procedure. With that picture in mind, Morgan, what final thoughts would you like to leave them with before we move on to our final question for today?
One of the articles that I wrote recently was about tips on how to keep your children out of the divorce. And there's some tips that I'd like to share with the listeners. The first tip that I think is most important is do not speak poorly about the other parent in front of the children or even in the next room. Children are aware of everything you say, and every tension that you are feeling, they pick up on. And it will only negatively affect your relationship with your children, but also the case. So that's number one. The second thing I would encourage the parent to do is encourage the parenting time or visitation time, however it's stated in wherever jurisdiction the person is in, with the other parent. You want to encourage the children to see the other parent, and with that, it will be favorable on not only on your case, but your own relationship with your child. And then lastly, do not question your child about the details of the parenting time with the other parent. That's a huge mistake that people make, and it only can backfire on you.
So if someone feels they want to know more about putting their children first in a divorce, then Morgan, so they can ensure they come out of the divorce procedure as healthy as possible, how can they connect with you, Morgan? Where would they find you?
They can connect with me on beermannlaw.com, and that's with 2 E's and 2 N's, Beermann law.com. They can also connect with me by Googling my name, Morgan Stogsdill, on LinkedIn, and that is where they will find a link to my article that I was just discussing, which is called, The New Elephant in the Courtroom, which is alienation regarding parents.
Well, I will ensure that a link to that article is included alongside your show notes. So for everyone else out there, whether you're sat in heavy traffic or tuning in at work, maybe listening in on your cell phone, your tablet, or any other kind of personal device, that's all we have time for today, unfortunately. The time has flown very quickly. Once more, that was Morgan Stogsdill. Thank you so much for sharing so generously with us today, Morgan. You certainly have demonstrated that you're a true educator and advocate for your client's success. So thank you.
You're welcome.
You are so welcome also, Morgan. And also, even more importantly, I'd like to say a big thank you to you, the listener, the divorcing couples out there. Thank you for joining us on this, what I can only describe as a very insightful and informative discussion with one of the leading divorce and family law attorneys in the Chicago area today, Morgan Stogsdill. Remember her name, make sure you check her out, give her a call, drop her an email. You'll certainly be in good hands. So again, I'm Stewart Andrew Alexander, and we'll be back shortly with some more leading divorce professionals in this, our series of Let's Talk Divorce Conversations. So, until then, take care, have a great day, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Makers Radio. To listen to all past, present and future industry thought leaders and trendsetters, visit us at impactmakersradio.com.